Okay, welcome to the Rosa Rhea podcast. We're talking about sex, love, and relationships, and we're sisters. I'm Rosa.
And I'm Rhea.
And today it's all about shame. But before that, I'll tell a little story about why I started thinking about shame. So there's this scam going around the internet. It's an email scam. And I just happened to just glance and see that I had one email in my junk folder. So I clicked on it and it said it was from me. In the subject was part of the password that I use for many of the things I sign into. It caught my eye and I was like, whoa, that's weird. So then I read the email and it was basically love porn. Yeah. Well, I caught you on this website, you know the one, watching some very interesting choices pertaining to your sexual desires. And I opened the front camera and filmed you masturbating. It didn't say masturbating. I think it probably said like enjoying yourself or I don't know what.
And you know what the funniest shit is? That I didn't even think about this. Like when you first told me, this is so good that we're talking about this. Because I got this email ages ago, but because I'm a cam model, like I was just like, they literally could have done, it was so probable that they had done that. Like there was just so many opportunities for someone to record, and I know it's very easy to do, to record a cam show or record something going on your screen, and then an anonymous hacker fucking blackmails you. I was like, this is very probable, but I was like, I don't give a fuck. And I just like forgot about it. I was just like, yeah, I literally thought it was because of my camming.
Yeah, but no, it's actually a scam that I guess a lot of people are getting this email. So then it goes on to say, we also got all your contacts and we're going to send the video that we took to your contacts unless you send us $966 in US dollars in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's right. I think mine will lose. I mean, I'm opening mine up right now.
Oh, okay. As I read it, the reason that it got me so worried, okay, I wasn't that worried, but the reason why I did feel slightly worried was because they did have part of my password. So it all of a sudden had credibility that perhaps they had filmed me. But for many, many, many reasons, my experience with other scams and just general common sense, I knew that nothing was going to happen and that there was never a question I was going to send money. But I still got a little like hot under the collar.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, and then I closed my laptop. I kind of forgot about it. But then when I got home from work, it was on my mind and I wanted to read the email again. So I read it again in more depth. And then I was like, okay, like I can see how this would become very stressful to somebody, stressful for some reasons. Like basically it made me think of shame. So I can see,
because you might be embarrassed. This might, the reason they're using this as a technique is because, as every 10 years or something, the spam, maybe it's quicker than that, I don't know, the spam techniques change. But they're really playing on people's shame here. And the shame, I believe, that they're playing on, I mean, like you say, it could be multi-layered and for various reasons, depending on the person, is that some people are embarrassed that they watch pornography.
Yeah, just masturbating in general
or
could be embarrassing.
Exactly.
Watching porn could be embarrassing. But then on top of that, what category are you clicking on?
Yeah.
And I don't even know the last time I even watched porn. But my mind did like do a little loop of like, could this be? And I just felt really empathetic to those people out there who have shame because of their kinks.
Yeah, and you know what? They're gonna get, someone's gonna send them.
The minute they're gonna get $966.
So I had two different emails, but this one is so funny. So it says, "Hi perv, I recorded you masturbating!" ! And I'm like, ha! I'm like laughing, right? This is what?
You're like, well, I hope you tipped me.
I know. I'm like, please. Plus, there's like 20 billion clips that you could download, on the internet. I have captured my email address. And then the thing is, in capital letters, this is not a joke. I am dead serious. I was like, oh. And then it says, hi, perv. The last time you visited a pornographic website, and this is right away, I know it's fucking, the last time you visited a pornographic website with teens, okay, I know all the times I've visited a pornographic website because I don't watch porn that often, to be honest. I literally watch porn, other than my own, I would say maybe once every 2 months. And none of the categories that I click on are teen. Okay. Right. And no shame to people that click on that category. I know it's a very popular category up there with MILFs, which I also appreciate it. But to tell you the truth, I have never clicked on the teen category. So I know this is bullshit. But, they could have picked something more...
maybe they think that's the most, like, pervasive or the most, like, popular one.
Or the more shameful.
Or most...
And then what does it say here? Blah, blah, blah. They got all this weird stuff they did all this stuff. They got all my friends on Facebook. I don't have Facebook. It says, you are very perverted! Exclamation mark. You got to send Bitcoin, but if I don't know how to do it, I can visit Google.
That's okay. So this is what I did too.
So it's
just like, Google it.
Right? Wow, it's very detailed, actually. It says, do not try to cheat me. So there's one of them. I'm just going to open up the other one. I just want to see if there's any differences. Oh, it says, this is your last warning. You have the last chance to save your social life. I am not kidding. They want $2,000 to Bitcoin address. And it says, you can visit the police, but no one will help you. I know what I'm doing. I don't live in your country, and I know how to stay anonymous.
Yeah, so this is the exact one I got as well. And so basically, the first time I read through it, I was kind of like, ugh. But all my, like, common sense was, like, kicking in. Like, no, like, this is obviously a scam. And then I just wanted to reread it. But I obsess over things like that. So I just needed to delete it because I didn't want to keep reading it over and over and over and perpetuate, like, the negative feelings. Because I got some negative feelings.
Yeah, and that's why it's so dangerous, really.
Yeah.
Because it's really playing on people's shame.
Yeah, and everyone out there that's listening, when people say the term kink shaming, this is what they mean. Because your kink could be as whatever. It could be anything at all. Your kink is basically like your deepest desires. I think it's very generalized. Like, it's very normal to have a kink. Maybe we need to just, like, rename it so that people understand. It's not like there's not just, like, one person in the shadow who's kinky. Every single person has their specific desires. That's why I've said this before. That's why there's 50 categories on every porn site. Yeah. Because everybody has such a different taste. They want something very specific or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden have shame over that. Somebody could come in and take advantage of you, like this scam email is trying to do.
Yeah, and I think the more likely you are to suppress your deepest desires and not talk about your feelings and what you want sexually, the more likely you're going to be susceptible to something like this.
Yes, right? Exactly.
So, for me, it's like, ha ha ha, I can laugh my ass off because I'm like on the other side of the spectrum completely, where you couldn't shame me.
Okay, but you weren't always this way.
No.
Right?
That's true.
And, not that you were just not always, like, comfortable with what it was you liked sexually, but you might not always be comfortable saying it in public.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it takes practice to get there, and and
you don't have to say everything. I don't think it's about saying everything out loud, but, like, don't let stuff embarrass you, I guess, because it's totally human and normal.
And okay, so there's one thing that is really important to note during this conversation is that you don't pick your kinks. Okay? You don't pick your fetishes. What turns you on, what makes you come, what, like, brings you to the brink of passion and pleasure is not something that you decided on. Whatever it may be, it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, exactly.
Studies and studies and studies have been done. It is random. It is completely random.
Yeah, and also one thing I've noticed too is it can change. And so that's why it's even more important to stay open-minded, is because, yeah, sure, some people are like, yeah, I've liked this one thing my whole life. But for me personally, I'll tell you, even when it comes to just like watching some porn and like what categories I click on or what turns me on or what I think about when I'm masturbating, that has changed throughout the years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it might always, and that's the great joy of life.
Yeah.
Is variety, right?
And like as you learn about new things, like Ray and I didn't even really know about doming, subbing,
exactly.
switch, like all these terms. As you get to know them, you might realize that you have interest sexually, and then you start looking at a different kind of category of porn, and you're like, whole world is blown open, and you just like are having even better orgasms, and you're having even a better time in bed and with your sexual partners. And that only comes from having that willingness to expand, to learn, and to throw off the shroud of shame.
Yeah, totally. Even still, like I deal with this a lot. Like I even got like a message today, and it was a guy, and he was asking me about buying my content. And then he was like, oh, you know, when I purchase your content from your website or from this other site, how does it show up on my bill? And I thought that was like, that's very common concern.
Yeah, just like in like the hotel rooms, it always says like, if you choose this porn category, it will not show up on your bill. And you're like, I don't fucking care.
Exactly. And I think that that's too bad. And everyone's different. And I get that, you know, relationships are different. But in a perfect world, I wish that it wouldn't matter what was on his Visa bill.
Yeah.
Right. When it came to what kind of porn he wanted to purchase. And like, you know, I wish that his wife, if he had insecurities about watching porn and it was problematic in his relationship, I wish that he would talk about that with his wife.
Mm-hmm. And like, I respect people's privacy. Like, you don't need to wear your kink or your fetish or your ultimate desires like a flag.
Yeah.
But you should present them enthusiastically to your partners.
Yeah.
You know, if say it's something that you want to keep private just between you and your sexual partner or partners, present it enthusiastically. Like, I really like wearing lace panties as a guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really fun, and here are some of the things I like about it. Not just like, you'll never like me because I'm disgusting and there's this thing I have to do, otherwise I won't come. And then the girl's like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like,
that's a really great point.
Present it enthusiastically without shame.
With confidence. Let's say that.
And with confidence, yeah. And then if they aren't down, that's fine. You're just, like Dan Savage says, it's the sorting hat. So when you tell people exactly who you are and they don't want to be with you, well, you've just sorted them out of the running.
Yeah.
And they were never meant for you. And if you hide yourself and they, you know, you get to hang out with them and you date them for a while, eventually it's not going to work out anyways, because you can't keep that kind of secret, that kind of desire, that kind of thing that makes you feel the most pleasure inside a box inside of you.
Yeah. And you can even say to people, and I would even recommend this, you know, I would say, like, I think, and this is a great time to bring up boxes, okay? And I think because we're in a box culture, you know, where you really securely place yourself into
like labels.
Yeah. There is a danger there, because then it makes it almost harder to tell other people, because it seems like such a big deal and rigid. So a way that you might approach this, and this is a way that I'm going to approach it when I ever get a boyfriend, ever. Who knows when that'll happen. When I do, I'll try this. I'll let you know. And, you know, you have to pick your time or whatever. You say, listen, I got this thing. It really turns me on right now. It turns me on right now. Maybe it won't down the road, but this is what I'm into at this moment. It's really exciting me. And I love to try it with other people. Right? And I'm not an expert, but it's kind of like a playful thing or whatever. But just make it clear that it's not like, this is who I am. I mean, some people love that, right? Like they really like to just get really deep. Like, I saw this at this Taboo show, right?
Okay.
You know, like, I'm a furry, right?
Sure.
That would be an example. And like, that's it.
Yeah, and I get like standing in your identity and like really being proud of it, because was a time when you couldn't just say, I'm a furry.
That's right.
And I get that, right?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if you can do it now, but I hope that you can.
Totally can.
Okay, good.
But there's a huge furry culture out there. There's a community. It's more than a community. It's not just a few people sitting around. There's a lot of people who are furries.
Yeah, you can look on Instagram. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. But thinking about how much I've changed, like year to year, month to month, day to day, I don't know if I'll ever stand in one person and say, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Because I am changing all the time. And my sexual desires are changing all the time as I grow. So yeah, you could have like a phase. It's the same thing. I have short hair right now. I'm not just saying I am a person with short hair forever. I'm going to want to grow it out soon.
Yeah, or any second. Like, and that's why I don't get tattoos. It's like for the very same reason. But, everyone's different. Like some people love, it's just like...
We like living in the impermanence. We really like learning. We like...
Yes, exactly.
Growing. Is that what... Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. And I just have the knowledge that I just know inside myself that I'm going to change more. Sure, I like who I am right now, but it's just for right now. One thing that I did hear from a lot of men, I only brought this up with men because I was just chit-chatting with some of my lovely regular guests, my regular clients yesterday at work. When I talked about shame, they all brought up that shame is good sometimes.
Oh, well, it's very okay.
So what are the good or useful parts of shame?
Well, it's like, this is the thing. And, I know this a little bit from just camming, but also talking to people, because even Edwin said to us, part of the reason we don't have these conversations is because it's not sexy, and when something's a bit shameful, I guess is what we're really getting into, it's a bit more of a turn on.
Yeah, so that was brought up yesterday. But I think that, I guess there's different kinds of shame. That would be like a taboo kind of shame.
Yes.
Right? So it's kind of like, it's more veering into like joyful shame. Do you think I want to get spanked. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting spanked. Like almost like a novelty, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And then is it partly bad because, or good because it may prevent you from doing something bad? Shame, the idea of shame might stop you from doing something actually really bad and dangerous potentially, because people are their egos. They don't want to feel shame. They don't want to feel embarrassment.
Sure. But I think that's something different too. Like, I think ethically, you don't murder someone, not because you don't want to feel shame. You just don't ethically believe in murder. I think it's a
fine line.
Yeah, it's a very fine line.
I'm thinking about for me, yeah, but
well, I read a little bit about the shame that's imparted on children of sexual abuse, and that's traumatic implicit shame. That's a completely different kind of shame.
Yes, I would say so. I was going to be that is the other side.
That's toxic shame that your brain disassociates from. But without shame, you couldn't really molest a child.
Absolutely. And this is very triggering
for some people.
Yeah, and also it's a big topic, but I think it's also important to discuss, because these kinds of feelings of shame that occur during abuse can have such a profound effect on a person's future sex life and may induce more shame down the road as an adult.
Oh, yeah.
So there's lots of layers of shame.
And it's hard to speak on specifically because I only speak from my perspective, but I do know that there are different types of shame, and that is a very specific kind of toxic shame that can occur, and apparently your brain completely disassociates from it. So it could be for 20 or 30 years, and until your brain is ready to acknowledge what happened. And I think that's one of the things, we'll get into that, I think, in a future episode, because we do want to do a whole episode about sexual abuse.
Yes, and also because it's not like super complicated. It's like those predators are using the same shame tactics to groom victims as the people are using when they send these emails. It's like very similar.
Yeah, you touch on the same button.
That's right, and it's a tool for the bad. It's a weapon. Yeah, right. You can use shame as a weapon.
Yeah, and when you live with shame, like getting back to kink shame or the shame that you are, like whatever porn preference you have, when you live with that, you open yourself up to have people take advantage of you, like this website scam or this email scam.
Yeah.
It can be dangerous in many other ways, but because I got this email, it just really made me realize shame has no place. I would argue that whatever you're saying that shame has a use or is useful or is good in any way, I would say that that's a different word, because shame is so specific. It's such a specific button that gets pressed. And I really do believe that it's only used, like you said, as a weapon.
Yeah, and it's hard to use as a weapon if you don't carry it around. That's also what we're saying.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You can't, like, I don't get affected by the weapon of this email because I don't have the shame. And that's the thing. That's why you have to deal with your trauma. That's why you have to deal with these things, because if you're carrying these feelings, you could be abused in the future, or you could be taken advantage because of that, because the people are going to trigger you.
Yeah, I mean, you develop this negative evaluation of yourself through shame, and that makes you feel like you deserve either, abuse from a partner, or that you are a pervert, like what they said in the email to Rhea.
Yeah.
Right? You start to really believe these things. The pervert. You perv.
But my wall is so crazy. It's like you could never affect me by those words. You know what I mean? Well, it won't always be crazy. There'll always be something, I'm sure, that they'll hit. But the thing is I've really... And I think that is work, too. Like, you have to practice that.
Yeah, and there's work that you can do. Like, for example, when we were talking about, like, the uses for shame, how it's like, oh, well, like, maybe the feelings of shame will make it so you don't, like, masturbate in public or, do something that's, like, really just, like, beyond the social norm. But it's more like not what you should or shouldn't be doing, or should or shouldn't be feeling when it comes to shame. It's why you feel the shame. That is the work that you want to do.
Yes, exactly.
So why do I feel ashamed about the porn that I watch?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up. That's a great point, because you shouldn't be, it's not like, oh, I should stop doing this, or I should this or that. That's right. That's a terrible way to look at it. And this is the thing. I believe that if you become more open-minded and less shameful, you might even find it doesn't even turn you on in the end.
Okay.
You might get to the point where
you could evaluate it, do the work, and you lose the kink, or you just welcome it so much more enthusiastically into your life and, have it as part of your sex life, but not this overwhelming, looming thing that's always part of you, that's a secret inside of you.
Yeah. Or another thing is, like, you could say, instead of like, okay, say your thing is, that's a really great example, you really want to jerk off in front of other people, okay? Which is totally inappropriate unless it's consensual and ongoing consent.
But like in public.
Yeah, in public to strangers. Like, you absolutely cannot do that. So you might say, okay, well, rather than saying, oh, you just absolutely can't entertain that thought because it's so fucking bad for you and terrible and horrible, which, you know what? That's probably pretty normal. There's probably a lot of people that would get really turned on by doing that. That doesn't make you a bad person. But instead of doing the actual thing where you're victimizing all these people, what you can do is you can go home and you don't even need to watch porn. You can just imagine that you're doing that, like work on your imagination and just practice jerking off to that fantasy, whatever it is, in your own head, how fucking dirty it is, how fucking crazy.
Yeah, let your mind run wild.
Let it go crazy.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. And then you might do that and allow yourself to do that many, many times. And then you might say, hey, I'm kind of, now I want to jerk off to something else. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah. The way you're getting at it is like, there's like almost like this hope that your like kink will go away.
Well, but
it's more so the hope that the shame will go away.
That's right.
It might, your kink might never go away. But you might be able to look at it differently if you let go of the shame.
And I'm also saying that as you release some of the shame, the turn on might release a little bit too. Well, and it's not about going away, but it's just that is part of the shame and the taboo and the turn on. There's always going to be that connection, right? So
yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's a really good point. And I have spoken to people who won't even let themselves fantasize in their own heads, which is completely private, about another woman while they're fucking, or anything. Like, say you like to imagine spiders all over your cock. Who the hell knows? There's a million things that could turn you on. You don't need to put spiders all over your cock. You can just let yourself imagine that while you jerk off. That's what Rhea's saying.
Yeah, and I want to really clarify this point, because I'm not suggesting even that you watch porn related to this thing. That's not what I'm suggesting, because that's not even 100% ethical in certain cases. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you might have a kink, and it might not even be appropriate for you to watch porn, because the porn, for whatever reason, we don't know. I'm talking about exactly what Rosa's saying, is like just your imagination. But that is 100 billion% your private space. Mm-hmm. Okay? That is the one thing you got. So you might as well use it. It's completely free, and really indulge yourself when it comes to your imagination.
Yeah, because what I really suspect is that some people don't even let themselves fully fantasize in their own heads.
I've prevented myself 100%. I know that I know you're saying the truth, because on certain levels I have, and it wasn't because, I wouldn't say it was because I was had shame about fantasizing about certain things. I just wasn't using the full capacity of my imagination.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was relying, I wasn't always, but there was a time where I did watch slightly more porn. And now I barely watch any, and I enjoy my intricate fantasies. Like, they can get very specific. Do you know what I mean?
And again, it's for free and it's safe. Yeah. Honestly, if you are sitting there thinking like, wow, what an amazing idea, go and try it. Let yourself just go crazy in your own head. And I think that honestly is the very first step to getting rid of shame, if you have it, or just getting rid of that like panicky feeling when you get that next email calling you a pervert, because you're going to be like in your head, yeah, I am a pervert in my own head, and I responsibly and beautifully give myself pleasure to the highest degree all the time. Cool. Well, thank you so much for listening. As always, follow us on everything. It's at Rosa and Rhea, at Rosa Borkowitz, and at Rhea BS. Twitter, at Rosa and Rhea. We love to hear your DMs, and we love your feedback, and we especially love that you listened. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for joining.